Lions just recovered a fumble.
Bits of wisdom.
It's Harry Houdini, I'm pretty sure.
That's when it kind of becomes Home Improvement After Dark.
I guess that leaves us at the question of the week.
Very good. I don't know if you noticed, Jordan, but a really cool aerial shot of the table. Reasonably funny.
User review.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Home and podcast time!
That's right, a company that would never leave Binford Tools at the altar is proud to present a home improvement podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan. Jordan, trying something new here.
Yeah, we're using a different software to record, so hopefully it works out well.
Yeah,
for everybody.
That was an interesting way to start because for the first time ever, I was able to hear the theme song before before I went in with my own introduction, and I imagine this is kind of what Carson would have felt like on the Tonight Show, or Craig Ferguson, the greats.
Yeah, they're kind of hand in hand, those two. They're always listed at the top two of late night shows, always.
Yeah, I know people like to have kind of a peek behind the curtain, and we can't really hear the clips, and I'm sure that's obvious when we describe them. But we put you put the clips in later on, so we always just kind of do a little bit of guesswork in terms of what was said based off of our notes. But that may be changing depending on how this software goes. But we won't use the name because they're not giving us a penny.
No, not until they sponsor us will we recognize them for all their hard work and dedication in putting out a good product.
So Jordan, what up?
What up? I picked up a honey baked ham earlier today.
Keep going.
We're going to be recording this. It'll come out after Easter, but just before Easter we are recording. And that's a little tradition that we like to do around the Lyons household. We like to get a honey baked ham for Easter.
He is risen. He is risen indeed. Easter is Sunday. What are your plans? I guess for you it's more eat, sir, because you got this ham kind of stuff.
Yeah, because otherwise I wouldn't have eaten anything.
Easter. Carry on.
So we'll go to church that morning, and then I think we teach Sunday school later on, and then we're going to have some people over for some games and a nice little feast. So
don't you think you should leave the teaching to the professionals?
Hey, that's what my wife does. She does the teaching. I do all the snacks and push kids on swings. I do crowd control, really.
Yeah.
Those kindergarten and first graders, they get out of control.
So you're kind of a kindergarten cop then.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's always kind of how you've identified yourself. Yeah. Easter's right around the corner. The birds are chirping. Baseball is a go, and summer's on the horizon.
Yeah, something like that. Do you have any fun plans for Easter?
It is my girlfriend's birthday on Easter this year.
My
so we're very excited for that, and I think we'll be heading back to her hometown to do something with her family, and we got Easter, a dual holiday, if you will. So we're gonna be giving some gifts that day and stuff. So it's a big weekend. It's a big Sunday for us. So yeah,
wow.
Looking forward.
Should be a good weekend.
I think so. Speaking of good things or things that should have been good but maybe weren't, what are we covering this week, Jordan?
Episode 41 is going to be You're Driving Me Crazy, You're Driving Me Nuts. Or the other way around, maybe. I don't remember.
It's, you had it right. It's You're Driving Me Crazy, You're Driving Me Nuts. But, as far as titles go, I could see why you'd maybe get that
I'm
wrong.
Lost in the title just as much as Tim is lost in the episode.
Yes. Do we have a release date on this?
Yeah, we've got a lot of information on this, just like we do every other week. Written by Maxine Lapidus. The only other one that she penned was May the Best Man Win, which you'll remember was the first time we saw Maureen, and we haven't really seen her since, so I don't know what's going on with Maureen, but
yeah.
Maxine with her second entry in the series, and I don't think she's written any more, so that'll be it. Aired February 10th, 1993. And I don't think we have any plot keywords, so you know what that means.
Yeah, I guess it means we gotta make up our own. I was gonna say about Maxine, with this being her last episode, at least she went out on a high note,
She went on a note, that's for sure.
Plot keywords, you want to go ahead and start?
Sure, Ohio.
Mini Mart.
Marvin Jordan.
Go fish.
All right, my last one's gonna be iron boogers.
My last one is going to be... I put a lot of pressure on myself by extending this. Cake. Yeah, I kind of dropped the ball on that one.
Wow, you really nailed it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we waited for that one. All right, so luckily we can just zoom right into a lengthy plot synopsis by Tony Topola. And here we go. In Tool Time, Tim and Al have built a wooden home entertainment center rack, to which Tim has made a little adjustment. That was all in quotations.
As it should be.
Yeah, that was not in the original plan. At home, Tim and Jill are going to Sheila's wedding. Karen is babysitting the boys. Tim has tossed the driving instructions away since he is confident that he knows the area and how to find the church. However, it is not so easy when it's dark and snowing. ...
Ellipses. Yeah, that's pretty concise. Good to have that. Good to have that wooden home entertainment center rack included because that plays a pretty big role in this episode.
Well, it's certainly where we're gonna start.
Yeah,
so I suppose it's only right.
Without further ado, let's get into this this gem of a season 2 ep. I'll start things off. We open on Tool Time. It's the cold open, if you will. We open with a television. We're looking at a television. They do that a lot on this show.
TV and TV.
Yeah, TV and TV. And they do it in the next scene, too. I don't know why they thought that was cool this time around. So we open with a TV, but we're watching Tool Time. We kind of pull back, and it's Tim and Al, and they are working on a TV center, the shelving on it specifically. And this kind of right away sort of made me want to ask you, or right away I thought of this, rather. Do you remember like when TV stands or like giant TV entertainment centers were just a really big thing?
Oh yeah, my parents had one in their living room that I don't even know if it made it over when they moved, but it took up basically the whole room. It had speakers in it, CD player, console.
Yeah,
TV.
just like super gaudy, like huge wooden things with like shelving and.
You might be able to live in it, kind of.
Yeah, those things were like huge, and I even think of like there's that episode of Friends where they had that really big one as well that like went out into the doorway and stuff. But yeah, it's very much a trend that's gone. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your TV situation? Where's your TV house?
We have a very small TV stand. It just has 2 drawers on it, and there's a couple of like built-in shelves where you put like your DVD and stuff. But other than that, yeah, a lot more people are just hanging the TV on the wall.
I'd like to do that, but it's more difficult than I want.
Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, it does seem like a lot of work, and I get saving space and whatnot. But when we moved in here, I considered it, but. Fans of the show know I don't know that I have the wherewithal or I suppose the ability isn't the question, but maybe just the want. But ended up, we picked up a stand ourselves, but sleek, kind of small. That's just kind of the trend these days.
Slimming.
Yeah. So, good aside. Let's return to the episode.
So glad you brought that
up. When you have an episode like this, you gotta find other things to talk about. So back to Tool Time, and they're talking about carpenters, and Tim mentions that he makes like a carpenter's joke and sings one of their songs.
He also messes up the lyrics to it.
Does he? I don't know the song that well. Al and Tim are kind of bickering, and Tim steps behind the television set, but the TV screen is showing his face, so the TV is kind of acting as an avatar for Tim, and it like moves as Tim shakes his head, and Al kind of communicates to Tim through the TV. And this goes on for a while, and it's okay. They do the whole escalation thing where it's like, and I don't. Maybe you can fill me in on the what the specifics are of this, but what is that? He does like the 3. It builds.
He starts talking about like the 7 wonders of the world, but then he goes to the 7 wonders of the homemade or man-made world. So he does wing nuts and 2 other things that aren't really worth. Cups. Like a sports cup, and then Gatorade.
Okay, yeah, and then Al says something about the Sphinx, was more impressive than Gatorade, and then Tim says that the Sphinx never gave electrolytes or something, and laughs aplenty, to be sure.
The crowd loves it.
The crowd is eating it up. Tim comes around from the TV, and I don't know the correct terminology, but essentially he's wondering. I was wondering if Tim put something on the front of the shelf to make sure it didn't fall out. And Tim did, but then Al slides it out the back because Tim did not put the proper support in the back.
Oh, man. And also with this, so the VCR goes flying out. For some reason, the TV turns to static.
Okay, that's my question. Yeah, I was going to say, why does the picture change in the TV?
It has no logical explanation at all.
It doesn't make any sense, yeah. So sometimes I feel like when we watch these shows, we're like the guys on MythBusters just trying to bust the logistics of Home Improvement, just really taking a 30-year-old show to task, but,
We just want it to make sense.
Yeah.
That's all we want.
Yeah, I agree. So, next scene, Jordan?
Next scene, we're going to go home. Mark and Dad, they're watching the Pistons versus Bulls game. Apparently this is a VCR recording.
Did you say Mark and Dad?
Yeah, Daddy-o. Daddy-o.
Getting personal.
Yeah, well, at this point, we're 41 episodes in. I feel like we should be.
They're like family. Yeah, it's kind of like the Olive Garden in many ways.
In many ways. I can't think of any other off the top of my head, though.
It's cheesy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So Brad and Randy come down, and they almost ruined the score of the game here, which we live
in a world where everyone watches the Pistons. This episode exists in a universe where everyone really cares about one specific Pistons game.
To be fair, Michael Jordan was still around, and the Pistons were still pretty good at this point. They were a year or so, 2 years removed from their championship, back-to-back championships, so they're at least still competitive. So, and Brad and Randy, I sympathize with Tim here because I record a lot of sporting events, and constantly not constantly, but there's been several times where my mom or some friends have just ruined the game for me. So,
yeah.
It's not quite the same when you watch it knowing what's going to happen, but anyways, Brad and Randy come down, they almost ruin it, and they try to extort some money out of their dad because they think this is a good situation to do that. Where in the past, I feel like Tim could have just said, I'm going to, send you up to your room or take away something from you, but instead he gives into their threats, gives them some money, but they want more money, and it turns into a little bit of a fight. A playful fight, of course. Jill comes down, and the boys leave. She says that she doesn't know who Michael Jordan is. She says Marvin Jordan.
Yeah, you see, I don't buy that.
There's no way. No way. This is like the height or nearing the height of Michael Jordan. There's just like no possible way that a person would not, at the very least, know his name, Marvin Jordan. Nice try, Maxine Lapidus. I'm not falling for it.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about it.
No.
Anyways, she wants him to sign a card for this wedding, and we learn that she's going to be a bridesmaid in a wedding for Sheila, who has gotten stood up twice already. This is the third try, right?
Yeah, and I think that if you've been... I think she's been left at the altar 3 times already. I think this might be the 4th. So I also think that if you've been in the situation where this is your 4th time, like getting married or planning a wedding, maybe you just don't have people in it, Do something low-key. You're kind of setting yourself up for failure.
Well, we'll see what happens later on. It's not going to go that great, I don't think. But they're going to go to the... It just seems like, it's foreshadowing that perhaps they're...
Do you or do you not agree that a person getting married for the 4th time should maybe have a small ceremony? Don't you will see me. You're either in agreement or you're not.
We do hear that she spent like $4,000 on flowers, which seems a bit outrageous. You think at the 4th attempt
she's a 40-year-old woman getting married for the 4th time. Probably just want to go to the city hall.
Yeah, that would be perhaps the best move. And maybe that would bring better luck.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe the 5th time around she'll figure it out. So the doorbell rings, and... Thanks for that. Yeah. That was one of the great sound effects that we can play live.
Yeah, that was a drop. Not me knocking the table.
Just sounded like it. Yeah. So guess who's at the door?
I guess it's got to be Karen, and I want Karen to start getting the Kramer treatment when she walks in. she's kind of slides in, does some physical comedy, and everybody claps. No, the opposite's true when Karen walks in, or at least here when I saw it on the Daily Motion stream, I just booed.
I was gonna say you probably treated her a little bit more like Newman.
Yeah, I'm happier to see Newman, frankly.
Oh man. So Karen's gonna babysit. Mark is psyched. He answers the door. She wants to play Go Fish, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go play Go Fish."
Isn't this back-to-back episodes with babysitters?
Yeah, we had Elle last episode.
Yeah.
We got Karen this episode. No magicians though.
They should. Here's what they should have done. And Jordan, I've written some scripts, so I guess I kind of know plot and whatnot. But
if people donate to Patreon,
yeah, send you anything. They should have cast a babysitter. I'm thinking either like a late teens boy or girl kind of come in, change the dynamic, kind of a wacky character. Adding to the hijinks. I think that would have been good because they're just having Al and Karen and Larry Houdini and all these random people come over and babysit. It's always a struggle. Just cast a babysitter.
That's Sir Larry Houdini to you.
My deepest apologies.
Did you have a lot of babysitters growing up?
No, just one. I started going to a babysitter when I was very young, and then over time my family got very close to her, and then she kind of just became I call her my aunt. She became kind of just like a family member almost. So no, just the one essentially.
Well, that's a pleasant story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's, from what I hear, and what I remember from my babysitters, it's maybe a little more pleasant than what they were treated like in the Lyons household with all four of us boys. From what I remember, at some point, one of my brothers locked her out of the house, and he was so bad at one point that she tied him to a chair.
Was the brother's name Jeremy?
I can neither confirm nor deny such statements.
Sure. It's actually funny. Maybe this isn't funny, but this is a story that I often think about. So before, my mom found this babysitter that I went to forever, my Aunt Joyce. I went to another babysitter when I was 2, and the woman told my mom that she thought there was something wrong with me. There was something in my eyes that she didn't like. She thought I might be sort of evil or a deviant or something. I'm serious. And this woman told my mom that, and she cried and stuff, and she was very upset by it. And because she said there's something wrong with him. He just doesn't behave right. We think that he's something off. And my dad got really mad at her and stuff. But I often think about that. That woman that as a young boy looked at me and said, "No, not all there."
Look at you now.
Yeah, and I hope she listens.
Yeah, I hope she does too.
If she could see me now.
Oh man,
dark aside, but just made me think of it.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I'm glad I brought that up.
Yeah.
So back to the scene here. The girls are chatting about the wedding expenses, which we already talked about a little bit. We also learned that Karen has a new boyfriend, and they went to the Pistons game last night, and she blows the ending of the game. So
Karen's supposed to be 36. Not buying it.
What do you think she is?
42.
I don't really have a good guess here, but I mean we're expecting the Taylor family to be in their upper 30s, aren't we?
Yeah. I'm gonna find out how old she actually
You're gonna
was.
do some research? I can hear you typing away.
Keep talking.
All right. So yeah, she blows the score. Tim's upset. We move on to the next scene in which things get a little more confusing because they're driving in the car. It's nighttime and it's snowing. And I got a lot of questions about the timing of this episode. Why is it nighttime? Why are they going to a wedding that's going to be at 8 o'clock at night? And why is it dark the whole episode?
I'm gonna answer your questions, but first I want to tell you that she was 43 when the episode aired. So
oh my goodness,
pretty spot on. Now let's return to your questions. Why did they go to a wedding? Why is it one of those pitch black nighttime weddings? Well, Sheila wanted to do it with just the smallest amount of privacy. So it's an 11 p.m. wedding. No, I don't know. Yeah, that is weird. I guess it's just adding to the overall difficulty in driving, but.
It's completely plot driven. It just doesn't. I can't think of a lot of times that I've went to a wedding that started at 8 o'clock at night. but I don't know.
Wasn't your start at like 2 a.m. or something?
Yeah, well, we're a little unconventional.
Yeah.
We also had ours in a swimming pool, like underwater, so.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't understand the minister, but
No, but you pulled some sweet dance moves afterwards.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
During the ceremony.
Yeah.
Yes. So they're back in the car. They're driving. It's very snowy. We're gonna see this car a lot in this episode, and they are lost. Tim is adamant that they're not lost, but they turned down the wrong road. They had to go through a detour. They talk about
A lot of Michigan roads and a lot of Michigan cities.
127, which I've been to quite a bit. And Jill is obviously stressed out here. She's got a big role in this wedding as a bridesmaid.
She should have been there the day before.
Yeah, she might as well just slept, the night in North Adams.
Yeah.
Which, did you look up North Adams at all?
No, I know of like Rochester Adams and Adams. Adams Road is a thing down there, but is North Adams real?
North Adams is actually closer to like Hillsdale and further southwest of Lansing, and it's this village of like 400 people.
Okay, but they do talk about being near Adrian, so I guess that kind of checks out.
Yeah, the geography kind of checks out, but I just don't know what's North Adams got in it that they're going to this little town to get married. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and then I don't want to ruin it, but let's just say they don't end up in North Adams.
Spoiler alert.
Uh-oh.
So we continue another scene in the car. This is later on.
Yeah, it's a weird like flat. There's like a crappy, windshield wiper graphic or something of that sort, and then it's just like later on in the car. I don't know. Not really sure why we had that pause there. Probably, I guess, commercial.
They just wanted to show that time had passed. So they're still in the car. At this point, they've been driving for at least an hour, and they're lost. And later, Jill's hungry at this point. She's cold. Tim gives her lifesavers. They talk a little bit more about how they're lost, and they see a sign. And what does the sign say? No, it doesn't say North Adams. It says, "Welcome to Ohio." Uh-oh. So they've definitely went too far.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like a bigger... they're probably playing it as a bigger joke than it actually is, but if you're leaving suburban Detroit, you could pretty easily end up in Ohio. It's only like 45 minutes.
Yeah, well, the point is they were going a lot further west than south, I think, and it's not going to work out well. So Jill finally makes him pull over and ask directions at this little gas station mini mart thing, and we're going to go inside. And as we go inside, there's a cop in there, and then there's the worker, and...
I got bios.
You got bios. Let's hear them.
Yeah, so Jordan, not the cop, we're talking about Officer Lambert, and he's played by Kevin Scannell. 61 credits to his name. He was in films such as Turner and Hooch.
I just watched that.
I'm not finished. Bowfinger, which I really like Bowfinger. The Player, and he did a lot of television work in the 90s and late 80s. The other gentleman is Marty, who... is
the owner of the mini mart.
It seems to be somewhere on the spectrum, perhaps. I think that's what they're setting up. But he's the owner of the mini mart, and he's played by Cleto Augusto. He passed away in 2015 at 60, so that was sad to find that out. And I recognized him right away from his work in a Seinfeld episode. Did you recognize him? He's in the Label Maker episode where George has a girlfriend who lives with another guy. And George doesn't like it because like they are weird. They have a weird relationship where like they'll be in the bathroom at the same time and stuff. And near the end, like George brings up having a three-way, thinking that it's going to offend her so much that she'll break up with him because he doesn't want to be with her. And the three-way is with this guy and George and this girl, and they're into it, so it kind of backfires on him. But that's the Label Maker. He's also in episodes of Frasier, Shameless, and the film The Artist. 24 credits to his name, and that's Cleto Augusto. So.
Cleto. Yeah, well, Cleto and Officer Lambert, they make an impression in this episode. And at this point, they're going to go ahead and give Tim some directions. He blames getting lost on his wife being the navigator. And really, the directions are a bit complicated. So what we want to do is play a little bit of a clip here to give you a good idea of what the directions are like.
Just a little bit of a one, though, yeah.
Tiny one.
officer.
Hi there, what can I do for you?
I'm on my way to a wedding. I gotta find 127.
127? That's
Yeah.
pretty far. You're really lost.
Way lost. Well, I was letting my wife do the navigating. You know how that is.
Okay. You're on County Road 6.
Right.
You want to follow that north 0.2 of a mile to 20.
20. Is north, right, or left?
That's left.
Thanks a lot, you guys.
All right.
No, you can't go that way.
Sure you can, Marty.
No, radio says County Road 6 closed near 20, John. Fallen tree.
Ah, yeah.
You can take County Road 6, turn west on Elmwood.
Which is right before Oakwood. So you hit Oakwood, you've gone too far.
Okay. What's before Elmwood?
Edgewood, but what do you care? You're going to Elmwood.
Thanks, guys.
Whoa. What am I talking about? Elmwood's closed.
Fallen tree?
No, dead cow. Yeah, frozen to the highway.
What? Happens a lot.
Go north, that's left.
All right.
Okay? Now, at Beechwood, you turn east, that's right. Now, Beechwood becomes Route 2. But you won't know that because it's called Evelyn. But it doesn't matter because the sign blew down.
Sign's down.
Okay. Now, continue going east on Evelyn, also known as Beechwood, a.k.a. Route 2, till the fork in the road. Now, north left is Carmelita, right south is Maple. You want right south Maple. Got that?
Cows freeze the highway a lot?
So this is kind of a humorous scene. It's probably the high point in an episode that is mostly, kind of plateaus. There's bits about the dead cow, which I thought was kind of funny, and it's a lot of he says something, he gets out the door, and they say one more thing. I don't know. These guys are they're humorous enough. I think the Marty character, I'm not really entirely sure what's going on. If he's just supposed to be like weird, or if
he's very confused.
If there's something wrong with him. But yeah, it's interesting. They set up Ohio as if it's like the most podunk place of all time, which is kind of interesting. They set up, it's like like the complete middle of nowhere, but really they just over
seems
the border.
like a very Michigan thing to do, to disparage Ohio.
Right? Yeah, I suppose that's right. But yeah, it's a humorous enough scene, and so I guess that's really all we need to say about that. They get back in the car. Jill's getting dressed in the back seat, and she's getting pretty mad at Tim. Tim is a little bit turned on by her changing in the back seat. And
he's certainly distracted.
He almost gets into an accident, and he's it's the same thing. He's refusing to admit that he's lost, and they go on and on and on. This episode features a lot of the same arguments. In
a lot of driving
and kind of synchronicity over and over and over again. But they see lights again, and they pull in, and somehow they don't notice, just based on the exterior, that they're at the same mini mart, which doesn't make any sense. Like, he gets out of the car and walks in, and then is like surprised when he gets in there. And I don't know if we're supposed to think that it's because there's just so much snow that his eyes are shielded, but neither one of them really picks up on the fact that they're in the same parking lot at the same building. But that's the joke. He comes back in again, and it's the same two guys, and they kind of have a similar conversation. I'm trying to think what else.
Well, Jill comes in too a little bit more,
or
a little bit later, and her dress is a little messed up, and
but like not that messed up. I didn't really.
No.
It's not like one of her like cheeks are showing or whatever. I think like they were supposed to think like, oh, we're seeing something that we shouldn't see, but like the underside of her dress, which is like black, is sticking out or whatever, and it's supposed to be funny, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the point. And then later on, Tim is talking a little bit out loud about her being naked in the back seat, and the cop says, "Hey, we've got laws here in Ohio," which I thought was a kind of a funny line by the officer. Really, the only good part of the episode to me are these two gentlemen.
I don't even think they're that funny.
No, they're not. That's what makes this a tough episode to get through.
This is the scene where Marty is like, "Yeah, the Buckeye State." I was watching it this morning, and I thought, what am I doing with my time?
It was so bad, it was funny.
Is this it? Then the scene ends with the station wagon rolling backwards, and then they have to leave, and it's kind of a clunky ending. Like, that's just, and then like Tim's back home. So we're back home. Karen and the kids are playing Go Fish, and I don't really get this. I couldn't tell if Karen was cheating first and the boys were also cheating, but definitely Brad and Randy are cheating for sure. Brad is kind of sneaking around behind, and he's motioning to Randy, the number 4, and then Randy will say, "You got any 4s?" And Karen just keeps losing at Go Fish in the same way she loses at life most of the time. Tim arrives home, and Uncle Tim arrives home, and
You mean Frosty the Mudman?
Frosty the Mudman arrives home. He's not that muddy. Really, they could have gone a little bit more with that. I felt like let's really go for it if we're going to make.
He just got a little bit on his jacket.
Yeah, it's like me when I get out of my car sometimes and it's dirty and my pants get a little bit dirty. It's just kind of it's a consequence of living. I don't know that's he should have been caked in mud. Is what I'm saying. If we're gonna go, let's go for it. Jill is. The logistics of this are just whatever. Jill is
confusing.
She got picked up by her Uncle Bill. And he drove her to the wedding, and then Tim came home because he's so muddy. And I'm thinking, it's a midnight wedding anyways. Does what you look like really matter? It's going to be so dark by the time you get there. No one's going to even notice this,
They're probably just doing the wedding in the dark anyways. My guess is North Adams doesn't even have electricity.
That's my guess, and if you want to write to Jordan about that, North Adamites, if you want to write to Jordan about that, very mean-spirited comment, feel free. No, it's I mean, Randy's pretty mouthy in this scene, I would say.
Yeah, he's sassy ever since the start of the episode. So.
Yeah, he's not funny. He's not funny though. It's just kind of shut up, kid. It's I wish this kid would stop being such a Weisenheimer. They're all giving it to their dad in this one, and I don't know.
He goes too far, and Tim calls him on it.
Actually, he pulls his scalp back towards him, kind of aggressive.
That's what I meant. But
he pulls his head back, and I'm thinking, yeah, Tim, I'm with you. He's being really annoying, and it was aggressive, but maybe the situation called for it.
And we learned that Tim was also recording the Wings game, and Karen did so, but then she immediately ruins the score of the game.
Just like Karen ruins the lives of anyone she comes into contact with.
She's have you ever played the video game Rampage?
Every day before I go to work, and every night before I go to bed. No, what is it?
It's an old game.
Is this Dungeon of Drax?
No. Not quite. I think they had an N64 and PlayStation, but you would select a giant monster, either a King Kong lookalike or a Godzilla lookalike or this giant rat thing, and you would go and destroy buildings and towns and stuff. And it was called Rampage, and that's kind of what she's doing right now.
Don't you miss how video games used to be? Don't you miss the 90s sometimes? I mean,
yeah.
Oh, man, it was just simpler times.
By us, there's a video game bar, and you can go in there, and they have all the old arcade games like NFL Blitz.
They just don't make them like they used to,
Nah,
frankly,
back when we were young.
I mean, I just they just don't.
Kids
make
nowadays,
them like
they're babied. They need all this sweet graphics and stuff to have fun. Use your imagination.
You know what my virtual reality is? It's just my reality, and I walk outside and I play catch and have fun. I don't need VR to live my life, but. Don't even get me started. As I said these things, I was also researching. Karen's final appearance is only one episode away. So
no.
Yeah, this was her second to last episode. So when we get to the Great Race, which hopefully is coming soon, that will be the last appearance of Karen Kelly / Betsy Randall. And I'm interested to see now that she's from, she lived in Glenview, which is not too far from where I live.
You're really doing a lot of research on her this episode.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just, as I've noted, you have to have things to talk about in such an episode. So, all right, Tim's heading outside. He's upset and he's heading outside, and he's going to seek solace in the form of a man that we know as Wilson W. Wilson. Jordan, let's play the clip.
Hi-ho, Tim.
Hi, Wilson. You're up late. What are you doing?
Well, I'm just packing some snow to send to my cousin Ernie in Pongo Pongo. He really misses the winter.
He does?
Of course, he pays me for it. And let me tell you, there's no business like snow business. Oh, I'm on a roll. You won't believe the night I've had.
Well, from the looks of you, I would say that you pushed a car out of a ditch, and from the nature and texture of your clothes, I would say you were somewhere in Ohio.
The sound of that, I'd say you were talking to Karen.
Oh, I can't fool you, neighbor Tim.
Through the whole story? Spent half the night driving around in circles?
Mm-hmm. Through a couple of states, I believe.
Yeah. All Jill wanted me to do was stop and ask directions. I didn't do it because I hate asking for directions.
Well, all men do. It makes them feel subservient.
Well, I really was sure that I knew where I was going. I sensed it, you know?
That's because men navigate by instincts and women navigate by landmarks.
Yeah, she kept talking about some huge man with a donut.
Oh, sure. That's a sign for Bill's Big Bun Bonanza. To turn off to North Adams.
Well. I should have just done what she said, you know? Got directions and forget my stupid instinct.
Oh, Tim, don't sell your stupid instinct short. Do you realize that people have a tiny compass in their nose?
No, I was never aware of that. No.
Yes, it's true. People have a tiny iron deposit in their nose. It's right up here near the ethmoid bone. And that gives them directions to magnetic north. And since men have more iron in their bodies than women, it only follows that they would make a better compass.
Well, if such good instincts, how come I couldn't find the wedding?
Pardon me, Tim?
If I had such good instincts, how come I couldn't find the wedding?
Well, Tim, a map is a little more accurate than your nose. Plus, it's a heck of a lot easier to fold. Oh, here comes your beautiful bride, Tim.
Night, Will.
So Wilson outside packing snow to send to his cousin in Pongo Pongo. He makes a couple jokes. Wilson guesses exactly what happened, but only because Karen told him. So Wilson trying to be a little sneaky. But we learn from Wilson, because he knows all men hate asking for directions. It makes them feel subservient, which I don't know that I necessarily agree with that.
That's a generalization. I have no problem asking for directions or for help in stores. If I walk into a store and I can't find something that I'm looking for within like a couple minutes, I'm happy to ask.
Yeah, it seems like too much work to wander around.
Yeah, hey, I mean, there's people there that are willing to help you.
You've got time. You've got to spend some time in your virtual reality playing catch, so you can't waste time in stores.
Yeah, I just don't take me down that rabbit hole, Jordan. I'll riff for hours.
Yeah, so this one, I mean, this advice that he gives about men navigating by instinct and women by landmarks and people having a tiny compass in their nose, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot more generalization than we're used to recently. It's been a lot more history, I feel like, than generalization. So it's not necessarily a strong appearance for Wilson. No, it's not really.
It's actually, it's sort of a little bit nonsensical, or it's just like so simple that it doesn't even matter. Like, yeah, everybody that has a brain is equipped with some sort of a compass, I guess is kind of his point. So you got to trust your compass sometimes, or you got to ask for, what even is the message really?
Well, I mean, he says that, people do have a tiny compass, but a map is way more accurate.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't do much for me, I guess.
It does nothing for me.
So Jill is home though. Jill's home from this midnight wedding, so it must be 2 in the morning at this point.
It never happened because Sheila got stood up for the 4th time.
No! The caterer had to break it to her. He did so by ripping the groom off of the cake.
Yeah, that is...
Seems like a mean-spirited
lacking
caterer.
in subtlety, I'll tell you that much. From here, things are wrapped up pretty nicely. Because Sheila got stood up, there's really no need to fight about directions anymore because, well, they're not in the car. Tim sort of apologizes by way of saying, yeah, usually I'm better with directions. And then Jill says, yep. And then they say, oh, this reminds me of our wedding. And the audience really freaking loves it. They're just like, oh, yeah. Talk about your own wedding. We love hearing about that stuff. You guys are in love despite us never really seeing it at all on the show. We know that you guys love each other. And Jill goes into, how everybody tried to talk her out of marrying Tim.
Including Sheila,
who...
She knows a loser when she sees one.
She can spot a loser. And if I'm Tim here, you know what I'm saying? you. You know? Like, you're married to me. It's just, you know, stop. Why do I have to take this? You agreed. Like, don't lambaste me.
And I think he does that by shoving cake in her face.
Yeah, he shoves cake in her face.
That's the PC way of doing that.
Yeah, well, that's the television network way of doing it. And what else happens here?
Well, that's basically the end of
the scene. Next day, this ends in such a like the last minute of this episode is so stupid. Oh my gosh. So they're eating Sheila's cake with the boys, and
Randy makes a declaration.
Randy says he's never going to get married, which
great for a 10-year-old to say.
Yeah,
whatever.
It's fine. Whatever. It's waste. Anything a 10-year-old says is just kind of like whatever. Waste of time. You're going to change your mind.
Tim goes on to say that weddings are invented for women, and we get the thing where Tim is basically saying bad things about his wife, and she's right behind him.
Comedy.
Comedy. This is grade A comedy.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And the boys know that she's there, and he goes on, and eventually she comes over, and the boys scatter, and then the last little bit, we get kind of an eye-opening exchange. Just really. I hate to, I'm not one for like grand comparisons, but I would imagine that when Maxine Lapidus was writing this dialogue, she felt a little bit like, I guess I'll say Fitzgerald as he wrote The Great Gatsby, just really nailing a sort of a piece of Americana. Jordan, what's the exchange? Kind of, how does it go?
I'm not sure what you're building up to here, but I'm guessing you're talking about the football-themed wedding.
Yeah, it's really just good. It's really quality writing.
At this point in the episode, I am so upset with how bad the episode has gone and the lack of sense that was made that I'm not paying a whole ton of attention to this little analogy.
Basically,
that they're making.
Tim says he wants a football-themed wedding, and then he just goes into the specifics of it, and that's really
so
it.
He says
really
at
stupid.
the end of the wedding, he would spike the ball and carry his wife off. Right?
Well, Jordan, there's a lot more to it than that. You have a big screen TV between the man and the woman, so that you can watch the game. And then, I actually don't know that there's a lot more to it than that. But I wanted to get the TV thing in there. And then he's gonna spike the ball at the end, and it's good, clean humor. It's good writing. It's
Maxine at her best.
A statement on American masculinity. It's Maxine at her best. It is The Great Gatsby of the 90s. So, and then there's some bloopers that take place in the car. I didn't watch them, though.
Tim forgets his line, and then later on, Jill gets some cake in her nose.
Roll credits fade to black. You're driving me crazy. You're driving me nuts.
You want to do highs and lows?
Sure. Highs. What did I get out of this? Okay. I remember thinking it was funny when Tim is using the TV to talk to Al. That's a thing I thought, haven't seen that before. And I suppose the first time that we walk into this Ohio mini mart and we see Marty and Officer Lambert talking, I guess that first exchange is, dare I say, reasonably funny. Funny enough.
You dare.
I dare. I dared to say it. I chuckled a little bit. That's it. Lows? I don't know.
Everything else.
Know. An episode where nothing happens. An episode where there's fighting that isn't resolved.
Timelines make
no sense. The logistics aren't explained. There's no, outside of that one scene, there are no very good jokes. Wilson doesn't make sense. The boys are just kind of annoying, a hindrance. There's little Al. Karen is around, and that's always just like -10 in my eyes. So yeah, that's it. Lots of lows. Really, just one high.
Yeah. What about you? In the interest of talking about this episode in the least amount of time as possible, I'm just gonna say ditto.
That's not fair.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the worst episodes we've covered, I think.
Yeah, it really is. I think that I didn't get how bad it was until I watched it this morning.
Second time?
Yeah, like I think I watched it Wednesday and I thought, okay, this is kind of it's the thing is like the premise isn't that bad, but then all of a sudden you're like 19 minutes into a 23-minute episode and you're like, oh, nothing's gonna happen. Like nothing comes of it. It's just like built around them going to a mini mart, I guess. I don't know. So
It's not great.
it's not great.
It's not.
But
It's not great.
so yeah,
That's episode 41. You're driving me crazy. You're driving me nuts.
yeah, baby. What do you want to talk now, Jordan? We probably don't have any mail this week, do we?
No mail this week,
As if sensing the episode was going to be a bummer. We got no mail.
no one wanted to be associated with this episode.
This is going to be ours. It's just going to be kind of tucked away in the archives. Not spoken about again or heard from. Want to talk social media?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about how people can reach out to us. You can do so. Email us at homeandpodcast@gmail.com. Our website's thehomeandpodcast.com, where you can go ahead and support us by either donating through PayPal or Patreon. And as we've talked about before, if you do donate, you're going to have special access to a Jungle to Jungle episode that we're going to cover, and that'll be released in early May. We're going to record that the last Sunday in April, I believe. So
yeah, we're taking back Sunday that day, and it's going to be unfiltered, unfettered, unhinged, and just generally uncorked. So if you sometimes listen to us and you think, I wish those guys weren't so PC, well, pay us $1 and get ready for some fun.
Yeah, it'll be worth $1. If for some reason you don't feel like donating money to us, you can do something else that would be very important and is almost like currency. Go ahead and leave us an iTunes review. You can go on there, give us 5 stars, write a little ditty, or you don't even have to write something. But we love those, and we'll read them on the air as well. And finally, you can contact us at facebook.com/homeandpodcast or on Twitter at homeandpodcast.
I want to talk about the Twitter sphere, Twitterverse right now. So, poll this week, 17 votes. So that's a pretty solid number for us. And it's a simple question: are you a good dancer? 23% say ask my partner. 24% say yes. 53% say no. I think people are too modest. You know, half of our listeners don't think they're good dancers. Did you vote on this one, Jordan?
I said ask my partner.
Okay, I said yes, I am a good dancer.
Well, it's true. As I said at my wedding, I saw you cut some sweet moves out there. I've got some pictures that I might, maybe we'll tweet those out.
Yeah, the thing about me, it's me dancing is like one of those things outside of the car dealerships that blow in the wind and just kind of
wacky flailing arm and flailing tube men.
Yeah, just tall man, limbs going in every which direction. So that's, you don't need to post a picture. You could just post a video of one of those guys dancing around. It's more or less the same effect. So yeah, come on guys, iTunes reviews, reach out to us, and get ready for that Jungle to Jungle episode. I think this might end up being the definitive talk about Jungle to Jungle. And there are many, so...
Yeah, we're gonna reach to the top of that list with your help.
Yeah.
So with that, I suppose we can move on to what we like to call the question of the week.
We like to call it that, yeah.
Some people like to call it something different, but we're not going to talk about that. It's my turn to come up with that this week. I was going to talk about our favorite Ohio memories, but yeah, I thought, yeah, you think so? Instead, I'm going to talk about, cars are very important in this episode. And we know a lot about cars. And one of the most influential things in a young man's life is their first car. So I wanted to hear about your very first car.
Okay, Jordan. My very first car was a 1989 or 1987 white Bonneville that was passed down from my sister. I'm trying to think. It was really big. It had a bench seat all the way across the front.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was very spacious. It was not, visually appealing at all, but my sister had put a CD player in it, so that was exciting for me. And I don't know. It was. I liked it. It was really, really big. I'm kind of a tall guy, So it's
kind of.
I'm very tall. I'm modest. I like to talk about my height. But I'm tall. I'm 6'3", verging on 6'4". So finding a car that is tall enough for me and that gives me enough room is a difficult endeavor. And that car, the first car I had, was the best car for me in that regard. It was just very spacious, and I think I had it for about a year before I upgraded to something else. But yeah, that was my first one.
Wow. So it was kind of short-lived, but a good hand-me-down.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked that I didn't have to pay for it, and I think insurance and stuff was probably cheap. I didn't pay for that either, but the general lack of cost was the best thing about that car.
Yeah, I got you from point A to point B.
Yeah, sometimes C.
Yeah, sometimes C. My first car was also a kind of hand-me-down in a different type of way. I believe it was a 1994 red Grand Prix, Pontiac Grand Prix. And I believe my brother had it before me, but he got it into an accident, so it had to be redone a little bit. And my dad put in a new engine, and when I turned 16, I gave him a little bit of money, and he gave me the car. So it was a good deal. I had that car for a really long time, on and off throughout high school and college. Drove it down to Florida when I came down here for a little bit. But it always had a lot of issues with it. At one point the bottom was like rusting out, so I could fall through and have to do some sort of like Fred Flintstone like maneuvers to get the car going. So we didn't end up bringing it down to Florida.
Yabba dabba dangerous.
Sure was. So there's a lot of memories in that car, but it didn't make it down to Florida, and I think my dad recently sold it, so no longer is the Grand Prix around.
Sorry about the lawn mowing. There's some maintenance work going on out here. I've moved 3 times since we started the podcast, but it seems like everywhere I go, there's lawn mowing being done. Yeah, Jordan, I remember that car fondly. A mutual friend of ours, he would often complain behind your back about how much money you and your family were putting into that car. And I'll be happy to talk to you about that off air if you want, but...
That's fine, because I was complaining as well.
You guys are on the same page.
Which is one of the reasons it never made it down here.
Yeah, so. That's all right. Sometimes you got to let go of the past, then, Jordan. We should let go of the past, as in this episode as well.
We're going to, and this next episode we're going to cover is Bye Bye Birdie.
Oh wow! Let me get a look at that on the old IMDb sitch.
Do you want to sing it on out?
I don't know the song.
Oh, well, I guess we'll talk about that next episode.
Next episode. 8.0 on IMDb. That's a good sign. We need a good one after this one. This was tough, but
yeah.
Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. Hopefully the sound quality is good. Maybe we'll keep up with this, maybe we won't. But yeah, it's Jordan, it's been a pleasure talking to you, as always.
Yeah, as always. Take care, everybody.
Yeah, take care.